from the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics. This is Sports Extra.
We start with reporter Molly Oak, who's live in our satellite studio. Molly, the home of Carolina basketball, was the center of the memorial yesterday.
When you see the outpouring of love and affection for Dean Smith from across the basketball spectrum, you just get a small sense of how much he meant to not only his former players, but current students, future Tar Heels, and even opposing coaches. The loss of this man's life is a huge one, impacting not only the campus, but the entire basketball nation.
His impact is everywhere. And even when you hang out with the former players that come back in the summertime, they always tell stories about him, and you can just tell how much he meant to this place.
Chapel Hill, North Carolina, home to Carolina basketball and home to Coach Dean Smith. Reminders of Coach Smith are scattered across town, and many of us will never forget his impact.
And absolutely just represent everything about what Carolina means to this community, and really understood what it meant to be a Tar Heel and a true gentleman, and the country and the school fell in love with him for that.
The Dean E. Smith Center, better known as the Dean Dome. 879 wins, 2 national championships, 1 legacy, all in Coach Smith's name.
Dean Smith is the reason I love Carolina.
The Four Corners offense, point to the passer, just some of the things Coach Smith brought to the game.
I was fortunate enough to play for the greatest coach to ever coach basketball, Coach Smith.
In 2013, when President Obama honored Coach Smith with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, he explained Coach Smith was more than just a well-thought-out playbook.
But his successes go far beyond X's and O's.
This man was so much more than a coach. Standing outside the Smith Center now, people have been coming by all day, leaving flowers, a signed basketball, and one family even left a handwritten note, proving that Dean Smith truly was a priceless gem. And everyone seems to agree.
And that's why there's so many people that have such a reverence for him, because it was never about Coach Smith. It was always about someone else. And
Legend. I don't use that word very often, because I don't think you can really know someone's a legend until they leave an incredible impact and you realize it years later. But I think he really created a new type of basketball here and a new community style here that will never ever be replicated and will never be forgotten.
You know, you guys made a big deal of the social issues that he was pushing, but to us and to me, he was just being Coach Smith. He was just being the good, honest guy that wanted everyone to be treated fairly. And, you know, not only on the basketball court, it just happened to carry over in life as well. And
I can't imagine anyone being a better influence than Coach Smith was.
He means a lot to him, and if he means a lot to him, that means he means a lot to us too. I know.
But he was a much greater man than me, and his whole thing was to do the best you can do, the absolute best that you can do. Don't leave any stone unturned. Do the absolute best you can do, and then live with it.
But as 18, 19, 20-year-olds, we couldn't really put it all together. But now at 43, you start to understand why he did what he did. And what's amazing is that you remember pieces that he would teach you, the thoughts for the day from practice, that sure, they had something to do with basketball at that time, but it has to do with today, and it has to do with tomorrow. And that's the kind of forward thinker that he was. And he integrated that into everything that we did.
Till I die, a lot of the things that I do will be from him. That's a pretty good legacy. It really is.
Tar Heel voices should ring clear and true, especially during basketball season in the Dean E. Smith Center. Coach Roy Williams is making his voice clear. He expects more crowd support. Ashley Perry has the story.
The Tar Heels had just secured an 89-60 win against Georgia Tech, and Roy Williams was furious.
I was a little disappointed that more of our crowd didn't have more savvy. But I felt like they were asleep most of the day anyway, so it was about all right. And that's not intended to be criticism, but it's criticism. We need some dadgum help.
Help from nearly 22,000 fans who applauded sporadically from their seats despite shots like this.
Yeah. Right.
Mercy.
One UNC professor struck a chord with students when he tweeted a solution to Williams' enthusiasm problem. Let more students fill the Dean Dome.
More students bring more energy and bring more excitement than the big donors who are sitting there and not going to be nearly as animated as students.
But according to Senior Associate Athletic Director Clint Gwaltney, that's easier said than done.
It's not as simple as just saying, okay, we want more sideline seats or we want more lower level seats. It's a much greater dialogue than that.
Student seating is currently located in the risers in front of sections 116 through 118, and parts of section 116 through 118, part of section 107, and various areas throughout the upper bowl. In a low estimate based on this year's Georgia Tech game, the basketball program makes $13,611,016 a year in seating revenue. If students got these three prime sections, the basketball program would lose more than $1 million in seating revenue. So conversations like these have a long way to go. In Chapel Hill, Ashley Perry reporting.
The Carolina Fight song. If you were at the Georgia Tech game, you probably heard it a few times. Michael Coe has more about the people who play it.
While the athletes are the focus of every Carolina game, there's another group of students that deserve some recognition too. The Tar Heel Athletic Bands, better known as the Pep Bands. From basketball to volleyball to gymnastics, the Pep Band is there, cheering on the Heels. Jeff Fuchs has been in charge of the Pep Bands for 20 years.
There's some entertainment responsibility just to, fill the dead time. I think there's also some engagement responsibilities that we want to get the crowd cheering. We want to engage them in what's going on. Sometimes diffuse their engagement if for a bad call, if we can take that negative energy and spin it into a positive energy. So yeah, it's to enhance the overall experience.
The Pep Bands see no bounds in their musical potential. While songs like Here Comes Carolina are a game day staple, the bands have broadened their musical horizons and now have in their repertoire pop songs like this one. And while the time commitment for being in the band is substantial, there are some memories that are worth it and never get old.
But it's like during a football game, probably my freshman year against NC State when Giovanni Bernard returned a punt return for a touchdown and won the game. Probably one of the most exciting things I've been to.
So the next time you go to a Carolina game, be it against Duke in the Smith Center or a gymnastics meet in Carmichael Arena, be sure to look out for the Pep Band, which will help you and the teams get pumped up. In Chapel Hill, I'm Michael Coe reporting.
Connect with us online by liking the Sports Extra Facebook page and following us on Twitter at @SportsExtra_UNC.
Here at Sports Extra, we take our jobs pretty seriously.
Roll Alpha. Take Alpha.
Live at the Dean Dome following yet another dominant win by the Tar Heels. And now I'm at Fetzer Field. That's fine. We'll talk some women's lacrosse. We'll talk about how Sydney Holman has led the team, and now...
Don't believe me, just watch. Come on.
Who let Molly in control of the board?
We may just be students, but we hold ourselves to the highest professional standard.
Just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
Arsenic, nickel, mercury. Just a few of the dangerous chemicals found in the artificial turf that athletes across the country and here at Carolina are playing on. Should you be concerned? Some think that the turf and cancer could be linked. Rosita Cox has the story.
Courtney Johnson has been playing soccer since she was 5 years old and says it can get very messy.
I can tell you there's not a day I go home from playing on turf that I don't carry a huge amount of turf home with me. It's all over in my room, in my house.
Artificial turf, known for the little black pellets that get everywhere during a game, in your shoes, in your hair, everywhere. But the messiness isn't the concern. It's the bits of old rubber tire the pellets are made of that could be a major health risk.
There's no question that recycled tire rubber granules contain hazardous chemicals.
Chemicals like lead, carbon black, benzene that could cause major health risks, even cancer, if contact becomes too frequent.
I personally am on the ground 50 times within an hour from diving.
38 American soccer players were diagnosed with cancer just last year. Is this a coincidence? Researchers are saying they can't be sure.
There is biological plausibility when you think about what sort of things are in the artificial turfs.
Johnson says the lack of research about the turf is concerning and scary.
I'm sure the pellets can be made of something that's not healthier, but not as much of a health risk to players.
Johnson says although she's concerned, it's not going to keep her off of the fields. In Chapel Hill, I'm Rosita Cox reporting.
Unfortunately, we do not know how dangerous turf is at this point. The Environmental Protection Agency backtracked its assurance that turf was safe 5 years ago, saying research is limited and inconclusive and therefore cannot guarantee there are no health risks concerning the artificial turf.
During Black History Month, the UNC Athletics Department honors individuals who found success in their careers at Chapel Hill and beyond. The program is Tar Heel Trailblazers, and our AJ Nwoko caught up with one of the recipients of this prestigious award.
UNC alum Charles Waddell has had many titles and received many honors since he left UNC, and now he can add one more as one of this year's Tar Heel Trailblazers. And Waddell says this award transcends even him.
It means a lot, as much for the people who preceded me than for me.
Waddell says he has always been great at sports and knew he wanted to continue his success through college.
I had success in 3 sports in high school. I was all-state in all 3 sports. And that was something that I wanted to do.
Waddell's success at UNC started with the football team here at Keenan Stadium, and then with the basketball team here at the Dean Dome, and again as a thrower with the track and field team. But Waddell found his 4th home here at the B School, where he earned his MBA and moved on to a career with a different kind of competition.
In investment banking, 60% winning percentage is very, very good. It's exceptional. But the 40% losing, it just wore me down.
So worn down that Waddell returned to the career that brought him so much success as an athletics director at South Carolina.
But being back in athletics is really, where I wanted to be all the time.
And UNC student coach Gerard James is blown away by Waddell's success.
To listen to everything that he said and find something there to apply to my life, you can't put a price on that.
And Waddell plans to keep up the pace.
You just keep on competing. When you stop advancing, you're losing ground.
And this successful trailblazer is sure to find more ground to cover. In Chapel Hill, I'm AJ Nwoko reporting.
What an amazing figure. This guy played in the NFL, was an investment banker for Bank of America, and more. But he says the most important thing for him was the relationships he made while at UNC.
How many people at UNC can say they've coached 2 sports, led Tar Heel teams to 4 ACC titles and 5 postseason appearances, been in charge of 13 Carolina athletics programs, and won the university's most coveted award for service?
Well, Dr. Beth Miller can, and Kendra Douglas has more about how the Senior Associate Director of Athletics has left her heel print.
During 4 decades of service to Carolina athletics, Dr. Beth Miller has gone from coach to athletics administrator. Now, she says it's time to retire and move on.
I've been here 40 years. That's a long time.
This former volleyball coach not only helped the Heels win ACC titles, but Miller also won the C. Knox Massey Award in 2008.
I was shocked because I really had no idea that I would even be a candidate or be worthy of that type of award.
She's made a major impact in Carolina athletics.
From being at every sporting event to just being a friendly face when you see her walking around campus.
Whatever job they needed her to do, she did. And she did it
to the very best of her ability and set the highest of standards and really set the bar for future administrators to follow.
She has hired almost all of our coaches. She's mentored them. She's worked with them. She has been a guiding force at Carolina. And since Carolina's been so good on a national basis, she's been a guiding force nationally as well.
And you can bet you'll continue to see her support her athletes.
It's been most meaningful to me is just watching our student athletes when they come in and seeing them mature and seeing them as they move through their 4 years here at Carolina.
Miller will certainly miss her job, but it's the Carolina family she'll miss the most. In Chapel Hill, I'm Kendra Douglas.
Athletics Director Bubba Cunningham says the department will never be able to replace Beth Miller.
Who better to lead the first ever UNC Walk for Health than Bob Gersten, who is, get this, 94. He's the oldest Carolina player who's currently living. And Seth Pyle has the report.
The last time Mr. Gersten was walking at UNC, FDR was president, and it was to go play games in Woolen Gym, not the Dean Dome, as a basketball player in 1942. Now he is walking at UNC again, and all it took was a conversation with his friend, William Thorpe.
He knew that I've been active all my life and I can't stand when people do nothing. He says, well, maybe we'll have some kind of a walk. And I said, great.
Gersten wanted to do the walk because he knows the value of a healthy lifestyle and wanted to share that with others.
I say very active, always, all my life, starting with being president of the Monogram Club and making them all run every day. That was my idea.
And he was certainly able to, with dozens showing up to walk the mile distance from the Jackson Hall tennis courts to the parking lot at Anderson softball fields. Gersten concluded the walk by quoting Frank Sinatra, who was just starting to become a young star while Mr. Gersten was at UNC.
Not in a shy way. Oh no, oh no, oh no, not me. I did it my way.
And Tar Heels everywhere are very glad he did. In Chapel Hill, I'm Seth Pyle, reporting.
Lewis, are you not going to shave for today's show?
Oh, no, I'm trying to grow it out a little bit. I'm trying to get on Stern's level.
Yeah, you got a long way to go there.
Stern, I forgot a pencil. Do you have one?
That can't be sanitary. Now, men and women both play basketball, soccer, and tennis, but what about baseball? Our Kayla Gibson has the story behind why men play hardball while women play softball.
UNC softball player Lauren Walker has been playing softball all her life.
I really liked the team atmosphere of it. Also, just being able to practice and play with my brother growing up was just like a really fun experience.
But why is it that after T-ball, Walker went on to play softball while her brother played baseball? Turns out it hasn't always been the case that softball is for women and baseball is for men.
Baseball brings out the All-American
Sports
girl.
history professor Matt Andrews says women have played baseball since its creation in the early 1800s. Women even had a professional baseball league in the early 1900s.
This is a very dynamic, competitive baseball league that was only supposed to go through World War II, and then it actually continued to exist all the way through the 1950s.
But ever since baseball gained popularity in the mid-19th century, the sport has been associated with men.
The crux of the issue is that baseball has always been seen as the quintessential masculine activity. Baseball is America's sport. Men and boys are supposed to play sports.
And women succeeding in baseball was seen as a threat.
When Jackie Mitchell, for example, strikes out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, there's talk of her signing a minor league contract, but the commissioner of Major League Baseball, a guy named Judge Landis, he puts a stop to it right away. He voids her contract and he says women are not going to play baseball under my watch.
After the Women's Professional Baseball League disappeared in the mid-20th century, many women turned to softball, which was seen as more socially acceptable.
What happens is that this game, which is smaller and a little bit slower, just seems to fit the stereotypes and the assumptions that people have about female bodies.
And in the time since, softball has become accepted as a women's sport, while baseball is for men. But if anyone asked Walker if softball is any less competitive or athletic than baseball?
I think just because, we're playing a different sport doesn't mean we have any less fire or any less drive.
With 31 wins this season and plenty more games to go, the UNC softball team is proving women have just as much fire as the men. In Chapel Hill, I'm Kayla Gibson, reporting.
Although men stick to baseball and women stick to softball, Title IX rules say if members of either gender wanted to play baseball or softball and were qualified, they would be allowed to play.
So here at Sports Extra, something we do is study sports on the field, but what if I told you that you could get academic credit for studying sports in the classroom? Our Jarrett Corder has more.
History 120, Sports and American History. But simply home runs and touchdowns are not what Dr. Andrews intended for students to learn from this course.
The point of the course is to use sports to get at precisely the same themes and topics that I explore in my regular American history courses.
And when it comes to important topics such as segregation, Dr. Andrews says sports stories provide a great opportunity for learning.
I'm not sure there is a better way to get at the question of how does desegregation happen than by looking at the story of Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson.
But complete understanding and studying of sports is not necessary. Sports' general popularity has made them a current mouthpiece for change for pressing issues such as domestic violence.
Sports have mattered so much over time that it's through professional athletes and like boxers and baseball players that Americans debate these hot button topics.
Sports have forever been an arsenal for learning and continue to be in today's society, even in the classroom. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jarrett Corder reporting.
Professor Andrews is currently teaching 3 sports classes and is interested in teaching even more. Wow, sign me up for those.
Hey, batter, batter, hey, batter, batter, swing. You expect to see fans getting hyped up at games, but what about the players? The Carolina softball team isn't afraid to get a little loud. Our Maggie Miller has more.
Anderson Softball Stadium. Quiet, secluded, serene, except when things get rowdy in the dugout. Unlike any other sport on campus, the softball team makes even more noise than the crowd as a way to up their game.
I think with softball more than other sports, you have a lot of downtime, and so I think the chants and the cheers help bring everybody in, keep the energy up the whole time.
But do they practice their chants like they practice their batting? How do these cheers come about?
Some of them came from travel balls, so when we were younger and stuff, and so we just carried them on here. Sometimes you pull them from other teams, or we just make them up.
So we'll just get random beats going and just come up with random sayings or any conversation. If somebody says and it's catchy, then somebody else repeats it and we just roll.
Even Hall of Fame coach Donna Papa sticks to this method that players have been using since the Little Leagues.
If I do see them getting really quiet, I will definitely yell over there, and I'll be like this with my hands, going up come on, let's go. And softball players learn cheers and in the 10 and unders, 12 and unders, but they kind of get them a little more sophisticated when we get to this level. But it does help in the dugout just to keep everybody engaged.
Papa also says that chants can be used to get in the heads of the pitchers on the other team, throwing off their game from the bench. Maybe that's her secret to success. I don't know for sure, but what I do know is that I don't want to be on the mound against this Tar Heel team. In Chapel Hill, I'm Maggie Miller reporting.
Here at Sports Extra, we don't just cover sports, we play sports.
Welcome to this week's edition of Sports Extra. Today we're talking Georgia Tech and that insane squashing of those Bumblebees. First of all, JP Tokudo, I love you. Wow, that Superman dunk where Marcus Page threw it up and he grabbed it and just soared through the air, slammed it right in our faces. Nothing is better than that, ladies and gentlemen.
They call me the J Rice of the J School. If you're interested in self-defense and fitness, Taekwondo is one of the fastest growing martial arts in the U.S. The UNC club has been kicking butt in Chapel Hill for years. Our Rivers Up Church has the story.
Twice each week, a group of dedicated martial artists gather in the Woolen Gym basement. They are the UNC Taekwondo Club.
So Taekwondo is an entirely student-run club sport. It has about 20 members. We range from black belts to white belts and intermediate. And it's a great way to have fun and get in shape at the same time.
Taekwondo emphasizes values such as hard work, integrity, and self-discipline. Club president Matthew Fay says that his 3 years in the Taekwondo club have taught him a lot.
I'd say the most valuable lesson I've learned is just probably how to discipline yourself, do a lot of training, and I think one of the most valuable things you can get out of any sport is just the ability to kind of force yourself to do things, even if it's painful, even if you don't want to.
Lack of experience is no problem for Taekwondo newcomers such as first-year member Zach Soberano.
These people actually know what they're doing, which helps. In the couple months I've been here, they've taught me, they've critiqued me, they've taught me more stuff that I wouldn't know, showed me that I was doing stuff completely wrong, helped me out a lot.
The club will face off against Duke and other conference rivals in hand-to-hand combat at their showcase this weekend. In Chapel Hill, I'm Rivers Upchurch reporting.
Dang, I really would not want to mess with them. That does it for the best of edition of Sports Extra.
Thanks so much for watching this semester. We're headed to the real world.
I'll still be sticking around though, no worries. The shows will start back up in September. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.